Gosh, I'm just here for the shave stuff. Like, why is he all talking about this stuff? I put timestamps where you can jump ahead to different parts of the video. Hello everyone, welcome to the Take Care Man channel. My name is Todd. In this video we're going to be using Monaco Royale from Wholly Kaw. I have a sample of it here. And we're also going to be using the Fougere Parfaite, I think that's how you would say that, from Wholly Kaw and Splash. These are obviously two different scents, but I don't have the matching in the two, so I thought I've already got this whipped up in the Prayer shaving bowl, and I'm using the Blackland shaving brush. This is the synthetic knot in black with obviously the blue handle. So right off the top, I get what I would call a barbershop scent, not in the fine American blend sense, or even in, say, like a Maggard's London Barbershop or a Sterling Barbershop. But what I get here is what I would call a Fougere barbershop. Primarily what I'm getting off the top is that oak is like the Oakmoss and the Bergamot. And that's what reminds me of the barbershops I went to as a kid. I think that, you know, the aftershave they used there was Clubman Panade, and to me it's what I would call like a Fougere barbershop scent. I would put this at about a 7 out of 10 on the strength scale in terms of scent strength. I like it quite a bit. It's definitely stronger on the face than it was off of the sample, and of course samples are going to be a little less strong because they're just not as large as pucks. The notes on Monaco Royale are lavender, bergamot, neroli, petitgrain, with mid notes of oakmoss, cedarwood, tonka bean, ambergris, and Shri notes that it's synthetic ambergris. Again, the base notes of Guaiacwood, Agarwood, Vetiver, Sandalwood, Labdanum, and Musk. So the usual suspects you would see there in like a Fougere, what I would call a Fougere barbershop, would be the lavender, the bergamot, the oakmoss, the tonka bean, and the musk. There's various mixes of different things there, but this is what I get, and Shri classifies it, or at least I saw it one place classified. I can't remember if it was. I don't think it was on the Wholly Kaw website because it's currently not on the Wholly Kaw website. But I did message Shri, and he said it's coming back in the Sierra base. Wholly Kaw's in the process of relocating right now to a new location, as one does when one relocates, but I guess a bigger space, more conducive space, and so part of the plan in the near future is to bring back Monaco Royale in the Sierra base, but there's currently sold out on their website. I did find the alcohol splash in a couple locations. I think it was Pasteur's and maybe Maggard's. So we're going to use the Rockwell 6S on plate 6 with a Nasset on its third use. So let's get in here with the first pass. So yeah, just off of the sample, this was kind of underwhelming, but on the face, it's much more enjoyable to me. It reminds me of the scent, and I've just had a sample of it, but it's on one that I would like to own perhaps someday. And that is Bear Man's Reserve Classic, which to me is just a good standard barbershop. I really would like to do a video at some point on the different barbershop scents, like different genres, because there's definitely more than one type of barbershop scent. And there are some shaving soaps and post-shave products that overlap in terms of being similar in scent profile. And if you think about it, you know, every barbershop smells a little different. They are likely to have a lot of common notes, but they also are going to have their own unique notes in terms of what products that are used in there, just the furniture, the setting, you know, how old the building is, you know, that kind of stuff. So let's get back in here with a lather up with a second pass. Again, I get it's well blended. It makes me think of going to the barbershop. It gives me a little bit of a similar vibe I get from King of Oud, which to me is not a very oudy scent. I don't get a whole lot of the Agarwood, although it's in this. Agarwood and Oud, if I'm not mistaken, are basically the same thing. I get a little confused because then there's Dragon's Blood, which may be Agarwood. Anybody can classify below. I need to research that a little bit more. I think the first scent I was familiar with was with, drawing a blank, Sangre de Drago from PAA. So this is a little pasty. Let's get a little water on the face here. Even though I whipped this up in the bowls, you know I'm normally a face latherer, so even though I started out in traditional shaving as a bowl latherer, quickly migrated to face lathering, and so my bowl lathering skills are a little rusty, even though they're probably the easier of the two. Okay, this time, as opposed to in the last video, we'll do the second pass actually as a different direction. In that last video, the one with Ginger's Garden Sector Size, I did 2 with the grain passes back to back. So against the grain. Great performance as always on Wholly Kaw. This being the Bufala base. Of course, the Sierra base is nice as well. And by the way, King of Oud to me is a barbershop. It's my favorite scent in wet shaving. At least it has been for the past couple of years. And still is at the time of recording this video. And I'm talking about strictly scent, although to me, the Wholly Kaw performance is second to none. All right. All right, pretty good for the first 2 passes. We'll get in here for third pass across the grain. So I wanted to mention real quick that I have posted a comment box. I'll link it below, but it's a bit.ly/TCM for Take Care Man box. So all one word, TCM box. bit.ly/TCM box, where you can leave anonymous questions. You can identify yourself if you want to, but you can also do it anonymously, and there's no way for me to know who you are, and unless you tell me. So I've created it particularly because we're in the middle of Mental Health Awareness Month, and I want people to have an opportunity to post questions that they might have about mental health, so that I could do a video on your questions. So I want to talk a little bit during this third pass about a topic that I've talked about before that may not be particularly popular, but I want to talk a little bit about, keeping our hobbies healthy, if you will. And by that I mean, I'm going to do right here, we'll start right here. By that I mean keeping their appropriate perspective, or keeping them in the appropriate perspective. And recently I sort of looked around at it's not the first time this has happened, don't get me wrong. And so know that this is just my experience. So I'm just sharing with you my experience. I'm not assuming it's your experience. But I'm honestly embarrassed about the amount of shave gear that I have accumulated. And for me, it becomes a problem when you're having a problem like having enough storage space for it. Or when products start to go bad, and I don't necessarily mean in their performance properties, but like their scent starts to sour. Or you suffer from paralysis of analysis, not knowing what you want to shave with today. There's a difference between having variety, kind of mix it up a little bit, and having so much stuff. Oh boy, I probably shouldn't talk. Look, this is a massacre here. I really shouldn't talk about stuff while I'm shaving, but I do. That's what we do, right? There's a difference between owning stuff and it owning you. And there's times when I've allowed this hobby to take too much of a priority in my life. I've put it at times above things that I should have put first. Let's go back in here. I do have some cleanups there, even though I've got some area. We may have to go in with the alum on this one, but I want to hit these usual suspect spots here real quick. But I'm currently selling a lot of my razors and my soaps and splashes. I have no intention whatsoever getting out of this hobby. I love it. It's been life-changing for me, and I don't say that lightly. It really has. But there are times when I think I've turned to the hobby as an unhealthy level of escape. I think this hobby can be an escape. That's part of what I like it. Come in here, shave, shut out the rest of the world. But, if you're locked in on like researching shaving products and focused on it, and hours go by and you lose those hours. That's happened to me. If it hasn't happened to you, I'm good on you. And you may be really good at, you may be great at keeping priorities straight in your life. But sometimes I find I'm avoiding things in my life by focusing too much on this hobby. That may not be your experience. That's my experience. A book that means a lot to me is a book by John Eldredge. It's called Fathered by God. You don't have to be religious or interested in religion to find this book useful, but he talks about the different stages of a man's life. He talks about what he calls the boyhood stage, the cowboy stage, the warrior stage, the lover stage, the king stage, and then the sage stage. And he talks about, when he's talking about the test of a king, that what a true king does, and that's not like a way to go to your head, but just to say that at some point in our life, we're all giving authority or control over something, right? Whether it be our own finances or taking care of our family or what have you. And he says the true test of a king is how are people doing that are under his leadership, right? Or who are sort of supposed to be benefited by what he does. Like a servant king, so to speak. So let me rinse off. We'll come back, get the post-shave, talk more about this. So I'm going to be honest with you. I think part of the issue today is I have some notes taped where I would normally be looking into the mirror. And so I've kind of had to, shave blind, if you will, which you should be able to do. But regardless. Anyway, so Eldredge in this book, and let's look how we're doing here. You know what? I'm just going to see if just the splash closes this up. So this is Fougere Parfaite, and it smells to me like Brut, but upscale Brut, like Brut, really well done. I mean, it makes me want to own this soap like this, because I don't think, other than like Brute, is that what it's called? No, what's the Brut dupe from PAA called? A2, maybe A2, like A2 Brute from Caesar. Anyway, I would love to own this one. It's a good match. It's not it's very different from the Monaco Royale, but it's a good match because Brut is definitely a Fougere barbershop type of scent, but it leans much more herbal and a little floral, tad bit floral. That's really nice. It's really, really good. Good menthol amount in there. But to finish up the thoughts here about Eldredge's book, or specifically this part I want to talk about, is something he says in the chapter on being a king. And by being a king, he just means being a responsible man who faces their fears, handles business, takes care of stuff they need to take care of, and puts the people that they're supposed to be taking care of above themselves. And so I just want to read you an excerpt here from what he says. Too many men, having reached this point in their journey, or rather finding themselves kings even though they have not taken the masculine journey, seize the opportunity to make life good for themselves. The average man in his 40s or 50s comes into a little power and influence, a little discretionary cash, and he spends it making himself comfortable. He buys himself a lounger and a big screen TV. He goes out to dinner, joins the country club, takes a more expensive vacation. He works if he has to, but the purpose of his labors is only to build his savings so that he can lead a life of leisure. Is it not so? There's a sense of entitlement that seems to come with the 40s and 50s. The man has worked hard to get here, and something in him says, hey, I've paid my dues. Now it's my turn to have some fun. Now, this may not be you, but I've noticed that tendency in me. I've noticed that tendency. Now, some of that is healthy in that I'm trying to, by the name of this channel, take care of myself, meaning taking care of myself to me ultimately is about what Stephen Covey in his book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and the book First Things First, calls sharpening the saw. In other words, sort of refreshing yourself, getting yourself ready for the next thing that you're doing in your life, in your life's purpose. And obviously, doing traditional wet shaving is not my life's purpose. I have things that I'm working on, things that I want to do in life. And one of those is help men with mental health issues, and just to be honest about my own experience, and talk about things that have worked for me. And so there's times when I've allowed this hobby to get me off focus. I've used it to avoid things that I should be taken care of. So to continue what Eldridge has to say about this, but this is the true test of a king. Simply put, the test is this: what is life like for people under his authority? Really, it's that simple. What is life like for the people in his kingdom? Have a look at his wife. Is she tired, stressed out, overlooked? What about his children? Are they flourishing? How much energy does he spend simply getting his children to behave versus understanding their hearts and looking for ways to bless them? What we call the midlife crisis is often a man coming into a little money and influence and using it to go back and recover what he missed as the beloved son. He buys himself toys, or the cowboy, he goes off on adventures. He is an undeveloped, uninitiated man. And what Eldridge is referring to there is that for some of us in our childhood, we may not have had a chance to be like the beloved son or live through the cowboy stages. We may have had things happen in our life where we didn't get to play as much as we wanted to, or we didn't get to do adventures or get interested in things that we want to get interested in because there was other stuff going on in our life, right? And so we might have sort of got arrested in our development a little bit. Something, I have a quote of Eldridge's here on I have a whiteboard here in my bathroom, and I have this magnet up there. And in this he says, the boy wants to play. He wants most of life to be recess. The man wants something higher, greater, and so he accepts the process. And so sometimes I find myself slipping into trying to get away from responsibility, escaping, and just getting over-focused in me time. I mean, it is a balance. I mean, even good things can be overdone, right? Everything in moderation. So finally, he says this: what is this in me that just doesn't want to engage when my wife is having a hard day? Why would I rather focus on my hobbies rather than enter into the dark waters of a relationship? Why do I hesitate when one of my children wants to tell me through tears about how hard things are at school? You know of what I speak. There are regions of a man's world that he allows to become a sort of DMZ, demilitarized zone. And I won't bother you if you don't bother me, land of capitulation and passivity. It might be the family finances or a struggle with in-laws. It might be a growing conflict in his church or community. We look for the path of least resistance, and that is rarely the right path to take. I'm sad to think of all the things I've just surrendered over the years, giving up without a fight. It is essential that a man overcome his inherent passivity, this paralysis we got from Adam that lies deep in our bones. To be men, we must, with the help of God, overcome it intentionally, repeatedly, on front after front, across the seasons of our lives. And I can just tell you that a lot of what God, and I've not talked about my faith much on this channel, but a lot of what God's impressed on me is that so much of where I need to grow is by facing fears that I have in my life, like taking things head on, like not avoiding conflict, but trying to do the hard things. Do the hard things that you know that you need to do, rather than putting them off and trying to hope they'll resolve themselves. So taking more action and being less and not being as passive. So all I'm saying is, for me personally, sometimes I've allowed this hobby to take away time and money and attention from things that I needed to be paying attention to. That's just me. I'm not trying to be a wet blanket here or rain on anybody's parade. I'm just being honest. And if that's not you, good. I could probably learn a lot from you. And I would love to hear you talk about that, like how you keep your hobbies in check. But I've done this repeatedly. I've done this with other hobbies in the past. Even resolved to sort of not do that kind of thing again. But then I find myself just getting into stuff too much. I mean, moderation, unfortunately, is not in my vocabulary. But I'm in a season in my life where it has to be. Like, it has to be in my vocabulary, because I start to notice when things are not in moderation, I stop enjoying them, right? They get to where they become, well, that's where I don't own things, they own me. So I'm trying to get rid of some of my shave clutter, basically, and just pare down to the things that I really, really enjoy. I know that's not a popular topic, and I've talked about it before. I'll link a video below that I had with a conversation I had with a friend, David, where this issue almost ended his marriage. He was hiding purchases from his wife and all that kind of thing. And we joke about it a lot, but I mean, we have to take it serious. I mean, that's, Y'all know me, that's my role. I think a lot of people assume that I'm overly serious. I'm just being honest about where I've disappointed myself, at times disappointed my family, and ultimately just not, been the man that I want to be in a lot of areas in my life. And sometimes I can allow some of my hobbies to, infringe on that. Yeah, that's just my truth. And, for those of you that stuck around for that, it's Sterling week. By the way, I got a couple of Sterling shaves coming up. Or actually, it's not shaves, but Sterling videos. I want to give away this Mountain Man Splash, which is really good. It's like a dupe of Creed's Silver Mountain Water. And I love the way it smells, but I'm just trying to pare things down. You've seen I've only used it like once or twice, so I'll tape this up and you put that in the giveaway. I also will include 2 unscented soap samples from Sterling. One is unscented with beeswax, and the other one is naked smooth. They actually have 3 different unscented soaps. Below, I want you to do the hashtag King, so hashtag KING. That's it. That's all I want you to do. That's all you have to do to enter this giveaway. So hashtag King, and I'll draw in about a week to give away this splash and 2 soap samples. Check out that drop box I mentioned. I'll put the link below here again. Leave a comment below about what I talked about. You can also use that box to make an anonymous comment about what I talked about if you want to, if you don't feel comfortable talking about it below. But yeah, I just had to be honest, guys, in this video. And I find myself encouraged by people who are transparent, honest, and willing to admit where they've made mistakes or gone too far or what have you. So I just wanted to share that with you today. I hope that means something to somebody. I'll just remind you, if you haven't made it this far and you kind of think, gosh, I'm just here for the shave stuff, like why is he talking about this stuff? Notice that in all my videos, I put timestamps where you can jump ahead to different parts of the video. And the only thing I occasionally hide in there is giveaways. Like I'll not always put those on timestamps, but different parts of the shave I do put on the timestamps. So those are down there. So just to summarize, even reason that we're here, the Monaco Royale, great barbershop scent, what I would call a Fougere barbershop, and then the Fougere Parfaite, which to me is a really well done brute dupe. I don't know if it was intended to be, but that's what it is. It's brute to me. So I hope you enjoyed this. Got a couple of Sterling videos coming your way. Got the Magnificent 11 DE razors coming your way. And we're going to move on to a Tennessee artisan that I'm anxious to try out, and that's Hendrix Classics and Company. So we'll be doing that in our next shave video. But that's all for today. Thanks for listening if you made it this far. And again, I'll link this book below, John Eldridge's Fathered by God. So hope you have a great day. Hope you're living well. Until next time, take care, man.